The ego's real hostage, a Marvin Sapp revelation. They say Marvin Sapp locked the doors. They say he held the people hostage for $40,000. They say it was manipulation, control, a spiritual scam. But I didn't see chains. I didn't hear gunshots. I saw people move, willingly, with phones in hand and hearts on cue. And yet somehow, Marvin became the villain. Because the ego always needs a villain. It's never just a man asking for offerings. It's a threat to the one thing the ego can't stand, someone else receiving what it thinks it's been denied. That's not spiritual discernment, that's projection dressed in a robe. Marvin didn't steal, he asked. And they said yes. They came, they stayed, they gave. You call it coercion. But what if it was just choice? What if they didn't feel trapped? What if they felt seen? And what if that bothers you more than you'd like to admit? Because anybody could have done what Marvin did. But nobody did. And now everybody's mad that Marvin did. That's the math of ego. That's the logic of lack. If I didn't get it, then you shouldn't have either. If it worked for you, it must have been a trick. And so you reach for scripture, not to heal but to indict. You say he's fleecing the sheep. You say he's playing with God. But what are you doing? Laying in bed with a camera in your face, turning envy into theology. That's not a warning. That's a wish. A wish it had been you. You don't know what you're mad about, so you call it righteous anger. You call it false doctrine. But is it false because it's untrue? Or because it worked, and you didn't like who it worked for? He said it costs to sit up here, and they believed him. He said giving is worship. And they believed that too. And you? You mocked it. But deep down, something in you wonders what it would feel like to be believed in like that. You say they followed blindly, but who's really following Marvin right now? Who clipped the video? Who made the commentary? Who stitched it and went viral off his name? You didn't just watch the service. You served it up. He raised $40,000. You raised a pitchfork. Who really got the miracle? They say he's manipulating the people. But what if the people want to be led? What if they looked around, tried it their way, read their Bible through the mail, prayed for the marriage, for the job, for the kids, and still ended up in that church, on that night, with that man? What if they believe Marvin Sapp is the best they've found? And you can't stand that their freedom doesn't look like yours. You're not upset for the reason you think. You say God is offended. But why does your God always sound so offended? Why is your Most High always mad, always hungry for vengeance, always just one offering short of peace? You say there's a price to pay, but who's writing the invoice? You didn't make the law, but you love pretending you enforce it. You quote judgment like it's your job description. You toss around the Most High like a badge, but speak from the most low emotional frequency. You say, these people are lost, but the only one circling this topic like a hawk is you. You say, it's not about the money, but your whole body changed when he got it. If Marvin had walked out with nothing, you'd have slept just fine. But $40,000, that disturbed the ego's peace. It would have made you feel better if he had failed, if no one had given, if he had stood on that stage and heard crickets, but he didn't. They gave. He smiled. And now you need someone to blame for how that makes you feel. You say you're defending God, but God don't need your defense. You say, will the real God please stand up? And the real God says, I never sat down. I never needed a pulpit, never needed to collect, never needed to condemn. Marvin Sapp is just a man, but he's a perfect mirror. He exposed your judgment, he exposed your envy, he exposed your belief that power, money, and miracles only belong to the deserving. And he shattered the illusion that you knew who the deserving even were. You don't need to rebuke Marvin, you need to forgive yourself for still believing that peace is something earned, that love is something traded, that God is something threatened. Because the truth is, Marvin didn't hold those people hostage, the ego did. And it still does. Every time you point a finger at the messenger instead of looking at the message,